goes to Galway Elementary that has a disorder. And due to that, she is on the IEP program. I've done a lot of work, a lot of research. I've exhausted my resources, and I have asked staff for additional help because she's falling behind further and further. No, she is not meeting her goals. And I've got resistance, and now they're calling a meeting, which is not necessary. So I wanted to bring this to the attention of the district. You know, just like the Pledge Challenge STEM program, my daughter deserves every fighting chance, just as any other child within the district, within the state. She is no different. She's a very bright girl, but because of her disability, and I'm asking for your assistance. So.
Thank you. Is there someone that I can refer? Oh, okay. To be contacting you to have a more one-on-one meeting with you to your concerns better. And thank you for coming.
Our goal is to, they've been hiding, they've been lying about it. They have safe zone programs, inclusive models.
As I said, there's a lot of
promoting gender bending and sexual perversion.
So now I'm going to call up Shonda Lovato, but I'm also going to ask Michelle New to be sort of on deck and ready.
Just follow what they talk about.
Shonda, welcome.
Talk about what you talked about at the Orange County meeting.
Good evening. You guys know who I am, and you know why I'm here. I'm here because of Diversity Week. And you're aware that I've ordered the FOIA, and I've obtained a lot of information. And it was because an LGBT committee was created. And from that committee, there have been, I guess, teachers, librarians putting together constructs of what they feel is for Diversity Week. Now, I've gone through the emails. There's been a lot of inappropriate behavior in those emails that, as a parent, I'm asking, who gave them the right to remove my parental rights and say that they can get Jacob's dress read to my children? You don't bring in sexuality into a school. You can teach diversity through leadership. Now, on September 26th, there was a meeting down at the Department of Education, and every superintendent was invited to that meeting. There was a representative there that spoke about leadership. And I'm going to mention this again. I have a friend that transitioned. He is now a she. I have family members that are in the LGBT community. This is not about judgment. This is not about hate. This is about me being a parent and letting my children learn developmentally where they're supposed to learn certain things. This is not okay. Now, what's interesting is that I found a presentation that was done in 2016. It was from the bill AB 827. It was vetoed. Guess what? That framework is what's happening here. There was another bill that was recently vetoed by Mr. Brown, 1253. Same framework, but yet and still, Anaheim Elementary School has a sexual orientation and gender identity program that they're not disclosing to the parents. I want to know who has removed my parental rights and why haven't the constituents of this community been notified? I demand respectfully that a program that addresses diversity without sexuality, without labeling, and without excluding everyone from educational 2.0 be implemented. This is not okay. And I'm not going to sit here as a parent, nor as a representative of this community and let this fly by. One more question. Board policies are only, I guess they said 95% are Spanish speaking. Why aren't the board policies in Spanish? Thank you.
Our next speaker, Michelle New. And on deck will be Arthur Shopper.
He's got it.
First of all, I'd like to first ask Mr. Hayward why he walked by and thanked activists for coming for him. I think that is just absolutely inappropriate.
Wow.
I'm here speaking on behalf of a teacher that is employed by your district. I've met with Dr. Mary Grace on this and a few other people, so they're aware of it. I'm not here, I don't live in Anaheim, otherwise I wouldn't be here if I wasn't representing someone who's scared to get fired, and now I understand why. Not appropriate, very, very sad. So I'm going to quickly read this, and I'm going to go through this law real quick. Thank you for listening to my statement of concern. I am writing this as a concerned teacher, pleading with you to take my concerns to heart. As I look over the curriculum that is being dictated, on my heart it breaks. I personally do not have any kids of my own. These students I consider to be my kids. I decided to be a teacher to teach students about math, history, how to problem solve, and how to become responsible, how to write proper paper. Because my time is going to run, I'm just going to end it here. Basically, she's asking her right to be teaching us. She is not happy that you mandatory trained her, although you told them it was mandatory training. Then later in a meeting with individuals, they know who they are, they said it wasn't mandatory. I'd like to point out something that Laura Cantor presented to Orange County Department of Education. AB 827 LGBTQ Resource Panel, Laws Impacting LGBT Students and the Community Resources. This law was, it wasn't vetoed, it actually was chartered, which means it didn't go through. It's an inactive bill that never happened.
Okay.
So you guys took it upon yourselves, and I can understand why you were misled as to what the law asked you to do. I'd like to go through real quick. What happened was they weren't able to get this law passed. The reason why is they felt that it was infringing on other rights and that it was biased. And I'll give you the paperwork if you want. I'll send it to every one of you in an email. And this is from the legislator. This is not my words. Also, SB 840 also was chartered. Same reason. So then they tried to pass this again. And this just recently got vetoed. And that was AB, there we are, 2153. Surprisingly, Governor Brown came to his senses and decided that this is biased. If you're going to put something in, I have no problem. Everybody needs to be able to have kindness and be a part of the community no matter what their situation is. But let's be respectful of everybody and don't grab one group because that is bias and it goes against Education 220. There's already litigation that's starting now because I have a feeling what happened was you were presented, this was presented at Orange County Department of Education. You thought this law passed and in fact it was either misled to you by someone or they didn't realize. Can I give you this? Because this is a program that is for bullying. It's very big and it's for everybody.
I'm sorry, you have to end your comments, and if you would like to
Give it to them.
give it to
I will
Mrs.
give it to
Blevins,
them.
she will make sure that we receive it. Thank you. Next, Mr. Shopper.
Shopper.
And on deck will be Genevieve Peters.
John. My name is Arthur Shopper. I am the organization director for Mass Resistance. We are the international pro-family group that makes a difference. Many pro-family groups want to inform. We want to engage, we want to instruct, we want to encourage mothers, fathers, and their children to know the truth and fight against this destructive LGBT agenda. I have received a number of complaints from parents in this district regarding the perverse and yet subtle introduction of this LGBT agenda. There was a staffer here who had a badge on that said Safe Zone. And yet the parents had informed me that this very program had not been implemented. Why do I see a badge talking about Safe Zone with the 6 colors as opposed to the true 7 colors that a rainbow represents? On my shirt you will see, taking back the rainbow, reasserting biblical truth, biological fact. I would even add, it's time for us to make male and female great again.
That's right. Amen.
So,
Amen.
I will give a brief aside. Maybe some of you haven't paid attention. The President of the United States has taken the proper channel to ensure that male and female are properly recognized as 2 biological facts, and that the Title IX statute can no longer be construed to include gender identity, as though children or adults can change their gender like flipping a switch or going with their moods. Furthermore, Mr. Haywood, not only is he greeting so-called activists, but these activists are abusive and disrespectful. One of them grabbed my hand, blocked me from trying to go to my chair, assaulted me. I told her, don't touch me. In a world where you can be anything, be kind. And yet these bullies are not kind, and they don't treat the parents in this district with any respect, and that is wrong. Furthermore, it is nothing short of abuse to teach children that their biological sex can be changed at whim. Children go home crying in tears, distressed, and they should be, because immutable realities need to be embraced, recognized, and respected. We should love our children as male or female. And if they feel weird about it or think, maybe I should be female, you know, children play act all the time and they grow out of it, but it shouldn't be treated as a misplaced civil right. I have gone to greater lengths to inform the public here, as well as I had done at the Orange County Board of Education meeting. Comprehensive sex education, good for your kids, think again. The health risks associated with homosexuality, the levels of promiscuity, the lifespan, cut an average of 20% for homosexuals. Monogamy doesn't exist, and yet these are the most effective or proper behaviors. Suddenly he switches it from yellow to red. That's
Mr.
interesting.
Chapman, please end your comments.
I would like each of you to have a copy of this. This is for the staff as well
You
as for
can
the
direct
elected
back
officials.
to Mrs. Blevins,
Thank you.
and we
Please
will.
respect our children and stop shoving this
Yes.
corrupt
Thank
agenda
you.
down their throats.
I also want to caution you, as I said before, I will insist that this meeting maintain its decorum. So I want to caution you. There's no need to applaud. This is not that kind of forum. This is where everyone can be heard and respected. Please keep your comments down. Please keep your reactions to yourself. And please, I'm asking you, don't applaud, because we just want to make sure everyone feels that they have the opportunity to get up there and not be intimidated and say what it is they want to say. So I'd ask you to please just maintain the decorum of this meeting. And our next speaker will be Genevieve Peters. And on deck, I will have, I believe this is Christopher Tran. And thank you.
Good evening, my name is Genevieve Peters, and my sincere concern is multi-leveled. I look at each and every one of you, and I know that when you took your job as an educator, most educators take their job because they love teaching children. They love it when the light bulb goes on and they get excited about learning and they want to read another book or they've understood a concept. And now, educators and our children are subjected to a homosexual agenda that should never, ever have been in our schools. I want you to really, really think about why you're in education. I want you to really, really think. And I understand that so many times there's things that come down the pike that we just go, oh, it's another program. Oh, another program. But this is common decency. Our children are very, very vulnerable with minds that are still developing. They don't even know most how to read, write, or their math skills. And yet you're going to put in a completely different element that should never be in our school district. If you choose to be homosexual, it is your business, not the nation's children, and not California's children. We don't have to agree with you. We can love you as a human being, but we don't have to agree with you. And to be forcing this on 6% of that agenda on 100% of our children is absolutely abusive. I want you to really, really understand what's going on in the minds of the children that get exposed to this. It is absolute insanity. We are not in bizarro world. We are in America, and we need our children to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic. And let me tell you, at 47 on a scale of 1 through 50 states, we've got a problem here in California. Our schools are failing our children. And homosexual education is the farthest of what they need to know.
Exactly.
Not to mention, it is the parents' job about whether or not they're going to teach their children about relationships or sex or gender, not the Board of Education, not the school districts. We have a responsibility as educators
Ms.
and
Peters, please, end
I
your
will finish
comments.
my sentence. We have an obligation to our children to do the right thing. Do the right thing.
Yes. That's right.
Again, I ask for no applause.
Way to go.
Thank you. I really am trying to make sure that everyone that goes to that microphone
And she came all the way
Has
from
an
Oakland
opportunity.
today. Thank you.
to say what they want to say and not feel intimidated about it.
I feel intimidated. I was grabbed, harassed.
Next up is
Pretty
Christopher
intimidating.
Tran, and I will hold
That
on
heifer was bigger
deck
than you.
Charles Beltran. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Tran from Lake Forest, California. I oppose for school workforce feed children to teach about sex, LGBT disrupted agenda curriculum. It's up to parents to teach about children about relationships, sex, and gender. Yeah, it's up to the parents, not for government, to teach children about relationships, sex, and genders. And they should teach about common sense, like math, science, history, English, foreign languages. Yeah. I hope my teach on our children about diversity. That's it. Thank you very much.
Amen.
And our next speaker is Mr. Beltran, and on deck, I'm sorry, I can't see this. Joe Dubrano, did I say that correctly? I'm sorry, some of the writing is a little difficult. So, Mr. Dubrano, if you are here, you're on deck, and welcome, Mr. Beltran.
I'm not a good speaker, but I'm gonna try.
It's okay, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Charles Beltran, and I do respect the homosexual LGBTQ, but to be into the schools, talk about sexual orientation, I think I oppose that. Esteem is good, teach about esteem, self-confidence, your future, that is something to be taught about. The homosexuals, lesbian, like I said before, I respect y'all. I do have cousins that are gay lesbians, and they also believe that it should not be taught in schools, sexual orientations, but esteem, self-confidence, your future, your education. Again, it's Charles, not a good speaker, but I do oppose it to be taught in elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and did I say that correctly?
Embriano. My writing is really bad.
Well, it's not the best I've ever seen, but it's okay. I want to make sure I say it.
Yes, he is.
All right, well,
And, excuse me one moment, and on deck will be Keiko Ellsworth.
all right. I have 4 children. I'm a man, I'm married to a woman, and I have a family. And education is extremely important to me, as I'm a product of it, and I almost became a victim of it. I have advanced degrees, I'm educated, and I'm a Christian. And what I figured out after a lot of years of looking into what's going on is there are some really heavy-duty agendas going on. And you are all directly involved in them. Every one of you.
Mm-hmm.
These agendas range anywhere from the Kelvin degree temperature of the lighting you have in these classrooms, the frequency of the microwave radiation you're exposing these children to, all the way down to the slot antenna in the iPads that are aimed directly at the reproductive organs of the young girls. When Apple's corporate headquarters landscape architecture plans even lays out the subcellular component of the human egg that's affected by microwave radio frequency emissions. And we have the vaccination issue. I'm a product of education. None of the vaccines have been tested for mutagenic potential, carcinogenic potential, or impairment of fertility. Section 13 of every vaccine insert in the United States of America. Bold print by the vaccine manufacturers themselves. And yet we have a law that was put into place by the governor, signed and passed by the legislature, and you all go along with it. And you demand that these children get injected with stuff that has never been tested if it sterilizes them or gives them cancer or makes them sick. We have drinking fountains with lead flux oozing out of them, chloramine, bromine, halide compounds in the water, no reverse osmosis filtration, but $250,000 salaries for a superintendent that doesn't look at anybody when they're talking.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of problems. And these people in the room here tonight, because of the way they want to live their life, is not the subject of my concern this evening. That is the subject of other people's concerns. My concern tonight is how you are all willing participants in a series of eugenics agendas. And I encourage all of you to look inward. It's not just about a stipend for sitting on a school board. It's not about a pension. And it's all about what is right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, and our next speaker, Mr. Ellsworth, and I will have on deck Jesse Swabbin. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Greetings, everybody. I understand myself from personal experience what it is to be lost and to live in darkness and to not shine my light and to not stand for anything that means anything and to sell my soul for money and to be a thief and a womanizer. I understand that darkness. I also understand what it means to be a father of a 7-year-old daughter and to stand for a purpose. I understand what it means to live for something that means much more than money and not someone else's agenda, but something that is going to let me be proud of my life when I die, because each and every single one of us is going to complete this life. And I believe, I know actually, that I'll get a chance to review my life in every single moment. And I believe that's just true for everybody. So I understand where all of us is at, and I'm learning, we're all growing, we're all at different phases. We're all the same. And I thank you and the powers that be, if you will, for attempting to put this agenda. But I also know that there's universal laws, and those are permanent. Man's laws are temporary until they align with universal law. Man is learning. I've learned personally that truth and justice, righteousness, reciprocity, harmony, balance, propriety will always prevail. And I'm grateful for opponents, but they will fail if they are not that.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Is it Swabbin?
Jesse, yes.
Okay, and please let me call on deck Joy or Joyo Willis.
John.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay, my handwriting's pretty slow.
Yeah, you know, it's about on par. I see a lot of these, and I can see it now that you pointed out. John Willis.
Thanks for rubbing it in.
You gotta be kind.
Mr.
Be
Willis, you
kind.
will be the next speaker. And also, so welcome, Mr. Swabbin.
I did security at the parade, the gay parade in Pasadena not too long ago. And it was amazing to me how it was all sexual. Women showing their butts, men in Speedos, little kids walking
Caution you to
around.
watch your language, please. We did have
Thank you.
Children in here, so
Sorry.
thank you. Continue.
So the LGBT to me is just soft porn. It's nothing about, it's all about sexual. And thanks to the Democratic Party, you have made California asshole here. Because it's going down the tubes, but we're rising, and we're gonna make this state red one day soon. But it is not your place to teach my kid or kids about transgender whatsoever. That's my job. It's none of your job to do that. It is my job. It is the parents' job. So how dare you teach any kid about transgender, gay, or lesbian? In a world where you could be anything, I'm assuming that means a teacher, a cop, a lawyer. We should be kind to that, because it's nobody's place to teach my kid their sexual orientation. Thank you.
That's
But
right.
mine.
Amen.
They're right.
Just 1 second, Mr. Willis. I would like to call on deck Zonia Townsend will be our next speaker after John Willis. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank God that he hooked us up with a president that knows the difference between a boy and a girl,
Thank
and
God.
he has made it policy. I am a self-avowed child expert because I have 22 grandchildren from the ages of 1 to 22. I have 5 adult children, up to 40, and I also have a 4-year-old that's going to be entering into the California State Schools next year. Actually, I had to write down 14 of my grandchildren are in the California State Schools. I'm not that happy about it because the California State Schools are like 41, 46 on the
47.
spectrum of
47.
on a graph of good and bad. And when I was in California schools, it was 5 and 6. We really degraded. So why are we pushing this transgender stuff down the children's throat? I mean, 5th and 6th grade, you shouldn't even bring that up. I mean, if the kids bring it up, you should be say, go talk to your parents about that. And you know,
Exactly.
God has a rule, and I'm going to try to stick by it. But one of those rules is to love everyone. So I don't hate the gay, transgender, whatever. I'm a sinner myself, so I can't be pointing a finger at them. But the thing is, this sexual identity is up to the parents to speak to the children about. And the transgender issue, please, the schools should just relay that off to the parents right away. And I mean, like this lady before said, 95% of the children here are Spanish speakers, and then 85% get free lunch. I mean, you have bigger issues on your hand rather than trying to cram this stuff down their throat. I don't want you to do it. It's none of your business. I will teach my children, my grandchildren, about the birds and the bees, and I'm pretty sure no one here wants to know what my sexual proclivities are, so let's keep it all to ourselves. Can we just do that, please? Reading, writing, arithmetic. And of course, since I've been to school, there's probably different things like computer coding and stuff. I have no idea what you're talking about. So please, reading, writing, arithmetic, the birds and the bees, leave it to us. Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
Amen.
I'm hearing a little overflow of conversation, and I'd like to ask you to just please keep that down, because it does somewhat interfere with us listening to the speakers. And also, I will have Michelle McNutt, is that correct? On deck. Thank you, and then welcome, Ms. Townsend.
Good evening. My name is Linda Townsend. I'm a registered nurse, so I come to you as a healthcare professional. I'm also a mother of 4 and a grandmother of 2, and I've been married for 37 years, so I kind of know a little bit about this sexuality education. I want to tell you that one thing that really, and I have seen some of this curriculum, and I'm just aghast. I cannot believe that we are teaching our children this type of information, looking at our scholastic scores and in the information that our children need to live in this world. We know that one of the main goals of comprehensive sexuality education is to radically change the gender and the sexual norms of society, and to establish rights for children as sexually autonomous beings. I mean, the word children and autonomous beings is almost like an oxymoron. I mean, that's why they're children. We are here as parents and educators to help them and guide them. So the core philosophies of the comprehensive sexuality education, it states that children are naturally sexual from birth. Well, as a healthcare professional, one of the things that we knew is we always want to get to the root. What is the basis of this? The majority of this whole sexuality program was actually based upon Alfred Kinsey, who was a biologist, an entomologist, a zoologist, and a quote-unquote self-proclaimed sexologist, who in 1947 founded the Institute for the Sex Research. Well, we know that if you look at his research, and you don't have to take my word for it, but we know that he was a pedophile. Okay, just because he knew he was connected with the Rockefellers, he knew the right people, he had the initials, and all of a sudden he's supposed to know the right thing. But he was a pedophile. Okay, he was not merely gathering information, but he was also engaging. He was engaging in the sordid sexual practices, homosexual, heterosexual, with the various members of the sexual team. I think it's important to find out the core of this. What is the sexuality education based on? It's not based on real education, on scientific fact. In fact, because there's children here, I saw what they were trying to do with the dental dam, and I think all of you guys know, that's disgusting. And that is, there's so much medically inaccurate information, but yet you are all of us are entrusted with our children's education, okay? So what I wanted to tell you is that he was not an objective, truth-seeking scientist, but he was an agenda-driven, and there is an agenda here. Okay, I see everything. You know, it doesn't matter. You're either an XX or an XY. Nothing you can do can change that. You can grow your hair, you can have plastic surgery, you can do all these things. It doesn't matter. You'll always be what God intended for you to be. Nothing's going to change. We also have to look at his sampling. So it was such a disproportionate number. So many of them came from prison inmates and sex offenders. But yet so much of our education...
Ms. Townsend, please complete your comment. Your time is up.
Okay, thank you. I basically want you to just analyze the source of where you're getting this information.
Thank you. Thank you so much, but I'm sorry, I have to call it your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And before I call Michelle McNutt up, I will have on deck Dr. Carroll Ketchum, I'm sorry. And also, I want to caution you again, your reactions they disturb us from concentrating, so please keep your reactions to yourself and just let the speakers speak. I'm sorry to keep putting that out there, but it is disturbing. It is a little bit, breaks our concentration when we see people waving hands and things. So I'm trying to be as kind as I can. I'd just like to ask you to please give everyone up their respect and let's just sit quietly and silently and let them say what they have to say. And I want to thank you. Okay, continue. Go ahead, Ms. McNutt.
Hi, my name is Michelle McNutt. I'm also a registered nurse like the person before me. I just didn't wear my green scrubs today. I happen to disagree with the speaker before me, and being a nurse doesn't give me any more credence than it gives her. We both just have our own personal opinions. Mine happens to be in full support of comprehensive sex ed because it is medically accurate. I want to thank you for doing the work that you've done with your students here in this district. I am from Capistrano. I have 3 children who go to public school. One's in college, but the other 2 are still in public schools there. And I'm an advocate in my district to try to craft something that will be medically accurate and follow the law. And I think we're going to be very successful in that regard. I'm here because last month I attended the Instructional Quality Commission meeting in Sacramento. And this is for the health framework, how to update the health framework so that it can reflect Chaya. Before that, they had it open to public comments for, I believe, 60 or 90 days. And the public was able to give their comments on language, on any say. There were nearly 600 comments from Orange County that did not agree with the framework or that tried to change the language of the framework, specifically around LGBTQ inclusivity and language. But here was what I would like to say from that meeting that I went to. Just an update about the final outcome of that meeting was that after public comment on Wednesday, the Health Subject Matter Committee moved forward with the draft of the health framework that kept in all of the guidance language around inclusivity and that accepted none of the substantive comments proposed by the opposition. The draft was considered next Friday by the full IQC and unanimously approved. Pacific Justice Institute and the California Family Council both showed up on Friday to give comments. They obviously object to the framework, and there were many people also who objected. After politely listening to comments, the IQC politely listened to their objections and then, without requiring discussion, immediately moved unanimously to approve the draft of the framework. Where there were comments given, it was in opposition to the language. It would have all of the ed codes that would say why they aren't in compliance with those particular ed codes. So I guess my point is that it was like a breath of fresh air to go somewhere where we understand why inclusivity is necessary. And I think that you are that little breath of fresh air here in Orange County. And I want to thank you for having the integrity to stand up for children here and to stand up for their health and to stand up for their rights. Thank you.
Wow. I believe I called Dr. Ketchum on deck next, and I'm sorry, up to speak, and then on deck will be Karen England.
Hello, my name is Dr. Carroll Ketchum, and I'm here representing the Orange County Equality Coalition. And under the Orange County Equality Coalition is a kind of outgrowth of our work that's called the Orange County Equality Coalition School Compliance Task Force. And I'm also a professor at California State University, Fullerton. I'm an associate professor in their Women in Gender Studies and Queer Studies program. So I'm here kind of thinking about lots of different issues and how they're intersecting. And I heard about what was happening here tonight kind of late in the day. And so tried to do a little bit of research because my understanding was that this district was really moving forward in a way that honored diversity of, in all its various forms, which was really exciting. And what I discovered, and so I was kind of perplexed, like what's going on now? Why it kind of sounds like we're going backwards. And then I got here and I couldn't park in the parking lot, so I parked over here, and I parked next to this great big bus. And I asked my friends and colleagues when I came in, what's the deal with the bus? And so now I kind of understand, right? Because I work in this area, in this region, up the street actually. I live in this region, and I am so proud to see the kinds of advances that we've made in honoring diversity in Orange County. It's exciting when my students are showing up. I've been teaching at Cal State Fullerton for 15 years, 14 years. And there's been such a change. My students are showing up in classes now, even in their first year, really feeling proud of who they are. And my understanding of the work that you're doing, the actual work that you're doing, is that you're really preparing your students to come and meet me someday. That they are understanding the importance of diversity. That they are understanding the incredible variation in gender, the incredible biological variation. Right? By the time they go through, all the way up through California schools now, they have this incredible knowledge.
Excuse me, Down with the signs, please. Thank you.
So-
Just
I'm
let her speak.
allowed to have signs, ma'am. Thank you.
It's
And
Do
I'm
not interfere.
I'm not interfering.
With her speaking.
I'm
and I
not.
apologize
No,
for
I'm not.
That's okay.
Continue.
So, and I just wanted to also tell you about what's going on in higher education, so that you'll know what you're doing is important, it's valuable. You really are preparing kids for what they're going to meet when they go on to the partnerships, the fantastic partnerships that you've created with local colleges. In my college, I'm very, very proud to tell you that we have several, I can't say how many at this point, I think there's 20, all gender restrooms. Our brand new library, which is just stunningly beautiful, the public library refrigeration, we have a beautiful all gender restroom on the first floor. It's the most used restroom on the campus. Students feel safe there, faculty feel safe there. We have a LGBT queer student center, we have rainbow housing, and this is what you are working so hard to prepare your students for, and you're doing it. The policies that you've made thus far, as I understand them, you're doing it. Chaya is moving us toward that, and I'm very excited to partner with folks in K through 12 education.
Your time is up, Dr. Ketchum.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would like to ask, I believe it's Mr. Ellsworth, could you please, or the gentlemen that are behind the screen, would you please be seated? Again, you must be seated or you must be standing against the wall, and I thank you for that. Is this, let me get my bearings here. You're Karen England? Okay, and then so on deck I will call, I believe it is Tony Ortuno on deck. Proceed, Ms. England.
Good evening. My name is Karen England. I'm the Executive Director of Capital Resource Institute. We're a pro-family public policy group, and I find it interesting. I come up right after the last speaker because I think it exposes what one of the real problems is. You all are an elementary school district, not a college gender theory classroom. And I think that you've let some activists get involved and take over an elementary school district and trying to teach some radical things. I'm not here to address the California Healthy Youth Act, which I totally oppose. It is law, and you do have to teach it in 7th grade, and it is pretty aggressive stuff that you have to teach. I'm here to talk about what you're doing that is outside of the law, that doesn't mandate you teach. The safe school zones. You know, I did an open records request, and I got over 2,000 documents, which I'm continuing to go through, and I felt pretty good. I do open records a lot and thought, okay, I think they gave me quite a bit of stuff, until I saw one of the other open records requests that only got 600 documents, and there were a lot of stuff that were in there that I didn't receive. So I do plan on following up.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Please take a seat. Thank you.
So I do plan on following up on, I don't know why I was missing some of the documents. My open records request was quite clear. One of the things that I found in there, and it was repeated, but this is just one sentence, it was in correspondence with the LGBT Center of Orange County. And it was from school district personnel talking about how empowering it is to hear from people on the forefront of change. By the way, they spelled here wrong. That's neither here nor there. But it's not your job to use our kids to promote social change. That is not the job of the elementary school district. Parents have entrusted you with their children to educate them, not to indoctrinate them on sensitive and controversial subjects that we may or may not agree on. You all are breaking that trust. I saw the sign 2468, don't assume your kids are straight. Well, you know what? It's not up to you to assume they aren't. It's not up to you to tell them that they're born in the wrong body. That is not why they're sending your kids to kindergarten class. You know, in the open records, it was interesting. I don't believe the parents know how much tax dollar money you all are paying to do these things that are outside of the law. One invoice, one email, $8,600. That is money that should be going into the classroom. That is money that could translate policies into Spanish so that you can communicate with the parents, which, by the way, are the stakeholders in this community. It's not the LGBT Center of Orange County. The stakeholders are the parents. I think that you need to respect all of the parents, all students, stop promoting and colluding with radical political organizations, using taxpayer dollars to use our classrooms and our children to promote gender
Please
ideology and a
conclude your
political
comments.
agenda.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you. Amen.
Again, please, we only have a few more speakers. I'm really trying to maintain the decorum of this meeting. Please keep your rumblings to yourself, and let's let everybody feel comfortable at that microphone. Are you Mr. Ortuno? I'd like to welcome you, and also the next speaker on deck will be Laura Cantor.
So I'm going to do actually my public comments in two parts, one in Spanish and then the last part in English. So para empezar, quiero decir que para todos los padres que están aquí, mi nombre es Tony Ortuño, yo trabajo con el Centro Comunitario LGBT. Nosotros trabajamos con la comunidad lesbiana, gay, bisexual y transgénero. Si necesitan apoyo sobre este tema, pueden ir conmigo, yo los puedo apoyar. Hablo español.
Could I ask you to pause for just a moment till our translator can send it up there with you? It goes both ways. Translate both. And you do get additional time if there is translation. Okay?
Como ya he dicho, mi nombre es Tony Ortuño, trabajo con la comunidad LGBT. Yo he trabajado con el distrito para apoyar los entrenamientos que se han hecho aquí en el distrito, nada más con maestros el año pasado.
So good evening, my name is Mr. Ortuño, and I have been working with the school district in regards to this LGBTQ homework.
No. I have been working with the district teachers to do the training.
Disculpe, he trabajado con los maestros para ofrecer estas capacitaciones para los maestros.
Y nada más quería decir que yo vivo aquí en Anaheim, yo fui a las escuelas de Anaheim, yo fui a Juárez, Benito Juárez Elementary, fui a Olive Street Elementary, yo sigo viviendo aquí en Anaheim y tengo sobrinos, sobrinas y primos que van a este distrito y que me apoyan a mí, que me apoyan a la comunidad, y nada más quiero decir eso.
And I have gone to Juárez and to Olive Street, and I just want to let you know I do have cousins and nieces and nephews that attend the school, and they all support me.
Y si tienen preguntas sobre la comunidad, sobre el trabajo que estamos haciendo, pueden hablar conmigo. Yo estoy disponible para hablar con ustedes sobre este tema.
And if you have any questions, you can always come to me. I am here available if you would like to approach me.
So this next part in English is actually just a statement provided to me by my cousin, who is a stakeholder, because she has 2 kids in this district, and she wanted to say this but couldn't be here. She says, as a mother of Anaheim Elementary School District AASD students, I applaud AASD for updating their school board policy to include their commitment to inclusivity and diversity. I want my kids to go to schools where they are supported for who they are and where they can support others for who they are. It is important that my children not only learn about the differences amongst themselves, but also how to embrace these differences. I want my children to be taught by teachers who are inclusive of all identities and who welcome all students in a safe and supportive school environment. My children are of mixed Latino and Black race and do not have many children at their school who look like them or come from the same background. Just as I would like my children to be fully accepted and not looked at differently for the color of their skin, I want all the students to be fully accepted for who they are, no matter their orientation, gender, or gender identity. I grew up in this community and I want to make sure my kids grow up in this community where they feel accepted. I urge you to continue the work you are doing to bring resources to our teachers that uplift all our students' differences. I urge you to listen to the parents like me who are here for all students, not a selective few. I urge you to continue your partnership with LGBT Center RC and the work they are doing to create inclusive and welcoming schools.
Our next speaker will be Laura Cantor. There are 3 more speakers.
I'm from Beltran School. Much as I'm gonna say almost the same as Maritza, but I think something else different about that is I think we're wasting our time talking about this topic because diversity, it doesn't say it's gonna talk sexuality orientation. Diversity is accept everyone. It doesn't matter if it is, I'm sorry for the word, but if it's black, white, short, tall, Mexican, American. I mean, I think that is time. We are equals. And I don't know why some parents misunderstand this topic and going to the another way, saying like orientation or something like that. I think we're wasting our time on this, and we need more researches about, I don't know, after school programs for the kids, more training for special aids, more, I don't know, something else better or most important than this topic. I mean, for me, I don't know, I'm happy with this school. They help me a lot with my son. My son is special needs, and they accept him like the way he is. But they need more, I don't know, training for aids, training for wasting our time on this. I mean, we're doing a lot of good things, the PTA and from the board, and we're doing a lot of hours. Like we're almost doing like 2,000 hours of volunteer parents, doing the book fair and everything. And I think we have to spend our time in things, in good things like, oh, we're helping, we're doing everything good, not just fighting back and forth and if it's good or not. Still saying, we're equal.
Our last speaker is Kathy Hurd. You're going to pass. Okay, that brings us to the end of our public comments. I would like to say thank you to everyone in the room. We had 18 speakers. Everyone was allowed, I hope, to feel comfortable and say what they wanted to say. I appreciate you as an audience allowing that, and it's not easy sometimes having the responsibility of trying to maintain the decorum of a meeting and make everyone feel welcome and that they have a right to say, and that we can also truly hear what you're saying, because we do want to hear what you're saying. So I'd just like to extend my thank you to everyone for listening to an important topic that had different views, obviously, and we as board members appreciate you allowing us to get through 18 speakers. So thank you again, and let's move on to our correspondence, which there is none.
I know,
And
right?
so then we're on now, board members, in case you need to catch up. We are on item number 3,